I joined my friends at a remote cabin and learned why no one camps alone in the woods. In a secluded forest, a group of friends decided to stay at a remote cabin owned by one of their cousins. This cabin was so isolated that no roads led to it, and reaching it required a grueling 3/4 of a day hike from where they parked their cars. Due to work commitments, I couldn't join them at the same time and had to set out later that day. This meant I'd have to camp alone for a night, as the final part of the trail was too treacherous to navigate in the dark, especially for someone unfamiliar with it. Despite the risks, I was excited about the prospect of camping alone for the first time. As twilight fell, I found myself deep in the woods. I set up camp in a small clearing roughly 40 feet across. I built a campfire, pitched my one-person tent, and indulged in classic camping activities, cooking hot dogs over the fire and making s'mores. Hours passed, and darkness enveloped the forest. Throughout the night, I heard movements in the woods surrounding the clearing. Initially, I dismissed it as typical forest sounds, assuming it was just animals. However, the sounds persisted, circling the clearing repeatedly. Once I started paying closer attention, I realized that whatever it was had made several laps around the campsite. I decided to investigate. As soon as I stood up, the noises ceased, and I thought I heard something retreating into the woods. I shrugged it off, thinking it was a curious fox that got spooked. Feeling the weight of the night, I extinguished the fire and climbed into my tent, trying to sleep. I hovered in that twilight state between wakefulness and sleep when I distinctly heard a voice. Initially, I thought it was a trick of my mind, but something jolted me fully awake. The voice was real, just outside my tent, whispering in an unintelligible language, or perhaps English, spoken so strangely that it was indecipherable. I lay there paralyzed with fear, listening intently. The moonlight provided just enough illumination for me to see the tent's walls. Suddenly, a hand pressed against the tent wall near my foot. Panic surged through me, and I sat up quickly. Whoever was outside the tent bolted, crashing through the underbrush at a full sprint. I scrambled out of the tent and shone my flashlight around, but saw nothing. Expecting to find a bloody handprint on the tent, I found nothing but eerie silence. Sleep was impossible. I packed up my camp at first light and hastened to the cabin, my heart pounding with every step.